Hello, and welcome back to Perfectly Paranormal, episode 98. My name's Annaschmidt, and I'm here every week to share with you true paranormal encounters and information about devils, demons, and dark energy beings that no one else talks about. They truly don't. And today you get an in-depth understanding of trauma imprints and how different levels of energy of negative behaviours and actions can create detrimental energy and affect the structure of the home, the occupants, the contents of homes, and even the pets. This causes a plethora of problems, including mental and emotional negative shifts, sleep issues, relationship issues, all attracting the paranormal energy feeders. And before we start today, I must say, we're exploring sensitive topics today regarding harmful actions that have been carried out by people towards themselves and also against others. But there's no graphic detail. I'm not sharing any graphic content. But if the information triggers you in any way, please see your doctor, mental health professional, or a grief counsellor. So what are trauma imprints? Trauma imprints are fascinating, and they are something that when I looked at doing house clearing work, something that no one else talks about. They focus on so many other aspects of house clearing, cleansing, house healing, whatever you want to call it. No one explores the trauma imprints and why they're in homes. So, as you'll know, I like the challenging topics. I like to look at aspects that no one else talks about. And when I discovered these in homes, I really found that when you clear trauma imprints, along with emotional imprints, portals, cording, black magic, and other aspects of negative energy in homes, so trauma imprints, they're pools of negative energy. So let me explain. House healing or house clearing, cleansing, whatever you want to call it, is really quite tough work. It really is very confronting sometimes, and it depends on how you do it and the depth that you go into. Now for me, buildings show me, or places even, locations. So if we start at the beginning, the land, when I connect to a property, the land will show me trauma that has occurred on it. And also the buildings will show me with very vivid, often coloured visions of the types of energetic imprints that are present. Now, trauma imprints are negative actions that have occurred in the locations and then been absorbed into the land, into the walls of the home, the floors, the fittings, the furnishings, and it can be over days or weeks or months or years or decades or even centuries in some homes. Your life can really be turned upside down by trauma imprints present in homes. Trauma imprints are different to emotional imprints. Emotional imprints, as you can imagine, are the internal feelings that we create. We create them in our minds, with our thoughts, and it creates energy within us that can then vibe out into the environment. So trauma imprints, these aren't internal, these are external actions that we create that leave detrimental energetic energy basically in locations and on items. The trauma imprints that I'm going to mention today are some of what I am shown, and they're not in any particular order. It's just a list that I have that I just keep adding to. So trauma imprint energy may include, but is not limited to, verbal abuse, physical violence, domestic violence, self-harming, suicide, death, stroke, murder, alcoholism, recreational substance energy, accidents, falls, bloodshed, overdose, assault, mental and emotional instability, hoarding, depression, and a no will to live energy. Now, bloodshed, even though bloodshed is not an action, it can be the result of an action. And bloodshed carries a really strong vibration. And I think this is because of the action that actually caused it to spill in the first place. It's the only way that I can explain it. I find if I clear homes that have had maybe a death or there's been violent behaviours where there's been bloodshed, and I don't actually use that word when I'm clearing the energy, I can clear the verbal abuse and the physical violence and the assault and the threats and all those other imprints. But if I don't include the bloodshed, that vibration can still be in the home. It has to be identified. Because when there's bloodshed on items and in locations, even when there's been physical cleaning that's taken place, you can use all the chemicals that you can think of. There is still the energetic vibration present. And this is really prevalent. This is prevalent in one of the real-life experiences that I'm sharing today. And this will illustrate how the energy of a room can shift, affecting the occupants in the home until that vibration is removed. So I've got 3 experiences to share with you today about relatable changes in the energy in homes and what the causes were. And some of them were felt by people living there, and others I identified either in person or remotely. You don't have to be in a place to do an energetic clearing. It's all about permission. So just to let you know before we get into our first experience, the trauma imprints that I'm mentioning in the following experiences include physical violence, verbal abuse, suicide, bloodshed, assault, mental and emotional instability, and threats. So I've called this first experience Ben's Sleepy Nighttime Terrors. Now, one of my house clearing clients, Beck, she contacted me because her son, Ben, around about the age of 7, was displaying really strange behaviours in his bedroom. And this was day and night. Now, whilst asleep, he would scream out at the top of his voice multiple times a night. And he would be tossing and turning in bed like crazy. And in the morning, his bedding was always a tangled mess. And his mum just didn't know what was going on. Why can't he sleep? Why can't he relax? Is there something going on at school? And he wouldn't go to the toilet by himself at night either. So it was disrupting the whole family's night's sleep. And this had been a problem ever since the family moved in around about 3 years ago. And they just didn't know what to do, and they considered selling up and moving house. They did take Ben to see doctors, and these doctors couldn't find any medical or mental health reasons for his strange behaviours. Now, Beck was referred to me, and to cut a long story short, after energetically clearing the whole home, I came to the last bedroom, which was Ben's bedroom, and Ben's bedroom was next to the bathroom. In Ben's bedroom, his bed was positioned up against the wall next to the bathroom where the bath was positioned. And that is really, really important, so remember that. Now, the house was around about 50 to 60 years old from memory. So the older the home, the more emotional imprints are going to be present, the more trauma imprints that are going to be present. So when I hear that people have got older homes, I instantly know there's going to be a high level of detrimental energy present. But the main bathroom in this house that was right next to Ben's bed was riddled with emotional imprints and trauma imprints from many previous occupants of the home. Now, this next part that I'm going to share, you might find a little bit sad and possibly upsetting, so I'm just letting you know. Now, I did some dowsing around the bathroom. I cleared all the emotional imprints, and I knew there were trauma imprints there. I could feel the sadness, the despair, the hopelessness that was pumping out of the photo of this house. I just knew there was more there. So I waited until I would be shown what was in the room. Now, when I'm shown, it's basically about 3 to 5 seconds of images that they show me. It's just to let me know what's in the home. Believe me, you only need a flash of some of the things that you'd see. Now, what I saw was a female, and she was in such an emotional state. Like, I felt her despair. I felt her sadness. It was just coming through this vision. She was in such a fit of despair from all the abuse that she'd endured from her drunken husband over many, many years that she took her life in the bath, leaving the bath full of bloodshed. Now, my dowsing told me that this had occurred approximately 25 years ago, and the spirit lady wasn't there. She wasn't present in the home. But the trauma imprint of suicide and bloodshed was present in the bath. And the bath was next to Ben's bed. Even though there was a wall in between, it didn't make any difference. The energy in the bath was vibrating out. Now, subsequent families moving into that home weren't told of the suicide in the bathroom. And many, many families had moved in and out of that building, and they just didn't know what the unpleasant energy was. They didn't know why they felt the way they did in that house, but they just couldn't stay. Beck told me that the last person that lived in the house couldn't wait to sell it. And they were honest. They're like, we just can't live here. We don't know why, but we just can't live here. And that should have been a sign. Should have been a sign for Beck. But Beck was unaware of what can lurk in homes. Ben's body was reacting to that disruptive energy that was seeping through the wall on a daily basis next to his bed. And with the trauma imprint that was there, that attracts the paranormal energy feeders. They can be attracted to the suicide vibration, but also the bloodshed vibration. So once I identified the suicide and the bloodshed trauma energy imprints that were in the bath, and I removed them, the paranormal entities just moved out. They just easily moved on. You take away their food source, they're not going to stay. It is simple as that. And within 2 days, Ben's mum, she messaged me and she said, I don't know what you've done, but Ben's in bed. He's sleeping. He's sleeping right through the night. Every night, and everyone else in the house is getting sleep as well. The spirit lady, she wasn't present in the house. But back in episode 97, I did a whole episode talking about suicide souls because the spirits wanted me to share their stories. And in that episode, I shared an experience where the spirit person was still in the home, but it had a really happy ending. So be sure to give it a listen. It really does give some people comfort. I've had people email me and go, thank you for that episode. It really did give me something to think about. I just do the episodes I'm told to do. And what I mean is management, which is my higher support system, my guides, angels, whatever you want to call them, they say to me, you need to talk about this. And I'm like, oh, that's a really tough topic. I don't know. But they're like, you need to talk about it. So I just do what I'm told. It's the one time in my life where I actually do what I'm told. And if it benefits other people to hear what I've got to share, then it's worth it. Now, I bet people are wondering how I share this information with clients. Now, it's really, really complex. I write very detailed reports when I clear homes, but I share all the emotional imprint information along with time frames, along with anything else I find such as portals, paranormal presence, magic interference, spirits on the property that might want to transition. There might be elementals that got stuck in a house and want to go back outside. But the trauma imprint information, as you've heard in that story, can be really, really sensitive. And I don't want to trigger people. I don't want to upset people. So what I do is I clear exactly what I find. So I'll write down all the trauma imprints, including if I found suicide, bloodshed. But when I write the report for clients, I don't always share the full details of the type of trauma imprint. Because the families need to live there. They need to live there without fear, without anxiety, and without sadness. And thinking of the trauma that had occurred in the bathroom every time that they go in that room. Now, if people are very psychically open and they say to me, I think someone's passed away in this bathroom, it depends on the situation as to what I share. And every single house that I clear is totally different. Now, our second experience highlights how furniture can absorb trauma energy. And you're going to find this rather interesting. And I've called this experience the traumatized table. A friend of mine messaged me because she knows the type of work I do. Her husband doesn't believe, but he's kind of open. Her husband wanted to bring his now deceased father's prized hewn pine table into the house. And they had been arguing over it. She hated the table. She said her and her daughter felt very uncomfortable around this table. It was like there was something attached to it, something lurking in the table, and she just couldn't put a finger on it. But it made her head spin, it made her stomach turn over, and she just felt yuck around this table. Now, when most people look at a table, they're not going to feel anything. It's just a table. But items can absorb energy, especially if there have been trauma imprints, which are negative actions perpetrated on that item. I'm going to explain. So what I did to look at this table, she sent me a photo, and I went through my usual process, looking at paranormal beings, spirits, emotional imprints, clearing all those, and then I came to the trauma imprints. And my pendulum, even before I looked at my list, it was spinning out of control. Now remember, buildings, locations and items even show me in my mind, in my third eye, they show me what has occurred on them. Now this table was registering with my dowsing. It had 3 demonic level entities attached. And this is what would have been triggering my friend, because people are more sensitive to paranormal beings' presence than what they think they are. They just don't want to think about it mostly because it frightens them. Anyway, these 3 beings were attached to a massive build-up of rage, hostility, hatred, blame, bitterness, conflict, depression, anxiety, overwhelm, and panic that had been absorbed onto and into the table from around about 15 years ago. Now, there were also trauma imprints embedded into this table, and you'll know why I use that word embedded in a minute. The table showed me the actions that had led to it being abused. Now, the client shared nothing with me other than that the table was a family heirloom and that it made her feel really yuck and she really didn't like it. But what I saw when I sat with the table, I just sat looking at the photo and I just sit there with a blank mind. Sometimes I see visions, sometimes I don't. There's never an expectation. I just go with the flow of what shows up. Now, what I saw was an angry man. An angry man continuously banging his rather large fist on this table. And as I saw him hit the table, the wood vibrated like something I've never seen before. Like his anger and his rage. It was more than anger. Like it was rage that this man was pumping out and he was hitting the table. And the table shook under the weight of his very heavy fist, time and time again. And I then saw his face. Now, I don't see full-on apparitions when we're talking spirits, and I don't see full-on images. I get a portion of an image, usually what the important bit is that they want me to see. Now, what I saw was his nose and his cheeks. Couldn't tell you his eye colour or what his mouth was doing, but I saw his nose and his cheeks, and they were so red. Like it's almost like they were going to burst. This is how angry this man was. And his anger, he's there and he's bursting with this anger and he's pointing and shaking his right index finger. I'm seeing the finger shaking at someone. And then I see a lady, sort of a very small lady, sort of crouched over and just sitting there, just taking it. Like she was just taking this abuse because I suppose she didn't know what else to do. And it frightened her. Like seriously, she was cowering in her seat. Now, furniture absorbs everything that goes on around it. It would absorb the nice, light, fluffy, higher vibrations. You know, all the happiness and the joy. But I don't pick up on that because I don't need to remove that from items. I focus on what the detrimental energy is, what is causing the problems in the home for the people, the pets, and the building. So this table registered verbal abuse, physical violence, mental and emotional instability, and alcoholism. And I'm not talking one wine with your dinner. I'm talking a bottle of scotch a day type alcoholism. People who are using alcohol, they're using it as a crutch because they've got trauma. No judgment from me. I'm just putting it out there. When there's that level of alcohol in the house and it's being used as a crutch and it's masking the person's problems, it creates a vibration. And also too, this is interesting, and the lady confirmed this when I sent her back the report that I did. I felt that this man had passed of a heart attack because his energy was so intense and his anger was, there was no words to describe it. I've never seen it in person, how angry this man was. Like, it was frightening, and it takes a lot to frighten me. Now, when I spoke to the lady and I gave her the report, she did confirm that the man passed away of a heart attack. I could feel his body struggling under the weight of his emotions. So the last little thing before we move on to our third story is that the table also wanted to be grounded. Now, we often talk about grounding for people, is that you need to be connected to this earth reality to be able to function. So this table was made of human pine. Now, human pine only grows in Tasmania, and it is a prized wood. Like, it is seriously slow growth, and it can take centuries for human pine trees to provide limbs or a trunk that's big enough for furniture. It really, really is a special wood, and it has a very distinctive smell, a very distinctive scent. Now, the wood in this table had felt so abused and unappreciated, and even though made from sort of nature's wood, you would think it would be grounded because, it come from the earth. It was just so ungrounded and so distressed. I asked Archangel Raphael, who is my go-to archangel for grounding, I asked him to energetically ground this table back into Mother Earth. So the table, it did make its way into the house, and it holds pride of place in the husband's den. So we're going to be talking furniture again, because furniture, like I said, holds imprints. This really gets people to start thinking about what they're creating with their thoughts, their words, and their actions, and their reactions. How you react to something that's going on in your life creates a vibration. Your actions create a vibration. So you just have to own it and deal with it. Our third and final experience is another piece of furniture that has absorbed negative energy from actions where this furniture was placed. And I've called this fascinating encounter the red chair with a secret. Now, a lady named Marie from episode 97, I did an interview with her after I did a house clearing. I did the clearing for her, but she also had a rather interesting red velvet chair that she had purchased from an antique shop. I can't remember where, but she loved it. She simply fell in love with it when she saw it. And she's like, right, I'm going to have that for my house. Now, she also has 2 children that can utilise this chair. But she found that this chair sat in her daughter's bedroom for maybe 12 months. No one sat in it. No one went near it. It was just sitting there collecting dust. And Marie's sister is very, very psychically open and aware. And she looked at that chair one day and she said to her sister, she went, "No, I don't like it. You need to get Anna to look at that." And Marie went, "Right, that chair's going outside. I'm going to put it on the porch and it can stay there." Well, it didn't stay there. We did actually clear it and it went back into the home. But when Marie bought it, she didn't realise the energy that was trapped in that chair. Well, it was in the chair, on the chair, and around the chair. The chair was literally marinating in the emotions and the trauma imprints that I'm going to share with you. And this is no joke. Like, this is real. If you've ever sat one place and gone, "Oh, this feels creepy, I can't sit here," and then you go and sit somewhere else and you feel fine, it's a thing. Energy on objects is a thing, and it can be positive, but it can also be negative energy. So what I found in this chair is that there were 4 energy beings attached to the chair. I think there was a couple of dark, a couple of demonic level entities. And I only define the differences because the 2 types of entities, the 2 different levels of entities are attracted to different levels of build-up and the types of emotional imprints that are present, and the trauma imprints in this case. So what was in the chair were emotional imprints of anxiety, discontent, rejection, panic, paranoia, indecisive, rage, distress, hostility, judgment, resentment, bitterness, worthless, shame, unworthy, humiliation and sadness that had been absorbed into the chair within the last around about 10 years. Emotional imprints tell a story. So again, I'm looking at the photo because I'm very visual. I like to look at things when I do work, whether it's a picture of a house or a person's face when I'm doing a personal clearing or a picture of a piece of furniture. So what I saw when I was shown what had happened or occurred in this chair, I saw a young female child sitting in the chair. She's just sitting there innocently. I think she had a book and her feet are just moving up and down, as kids do when they sit. They never sit still, they're always moving. And what I felt that was in the chair and what I was shown, she witnessed and she would have absorbed these trauma imprints I'm going to share with you, as well as the furniture absorbing it. There were trauma imprints of physical violence, threats, and verbal abuse. That's coming from two people that constantly fought. If you have one disagreement with your partner or you're just angry and you throw a cushion, yeah, you might put a tiny bit of anger in the cushion, but it's the consistency, the level of anger or the level of energy put into something, the intensity is what I'm trying to say. The consistency and the intensity that creates the build-ups of these trauma imprints, which then attract the paranormal beings, because all they do, as you know, is they feed off the energy that is present on objects, in pets, in people, in places. It's just what they do. We are energetic food sources for these beings. It's really that simple. Now, this poor child, I could see her sitting in the chair. It's almost like she was trying to make herself look small, like her feet had stopped swinging. She'd pulled them in and like she'd pulled her dress down over her knees, as kids do. And she'd kind of trying to sink back into the chair as these people were arguing. They weren't directing the arguing at her. It's almost like she was invisible, probably thank goodness. They were just at it, like cat and dog. They were at it with each other. And she just sat there because she didn't want to move because she thought, I'm just going to wait until they're done. Look, I didn't see her face again. All I saw was the way her body was reacting to, like the knees being pulled up and the feet being tucked in. And she just sat there very, very still. Now, once all this had been identified, that chair is totally energetically clean now. I have checked it a few times and it's fine. There are no negative emotional imprints, no trauma imprints, nothing else attached to the chair. It is what I call a clean slate. And that chair has found its forever home. It's back in the little girl's bedroom, and I hear from my friend that it's actually being used now, which is always good to hear. So all trauma imprints affect people and locations in varying degrees. It depends on how sensitive you are, whether it be mentally, emotionally, psychically, energetically. We're all sensitive to the environments that we're in. So when I clear homes, people will often say, the first thing that they say is, wow, it feels lighter. It's like they've been wading through a dense energetic fog of trauma and emotions and so forth. And they say it feels lighter and brighter and calmer, and the dog's calmer, and we just feel different. It's hard to explain sometimes how people... It's hard for them to explain how they feel. I say just enjoy it. Just enjoy the improved energetic feel of the home, the energetic cleanliness. I call it an energy spring clean. So I want to say, if you have trauma in your life, if you have mental and emotional instability, depression, if you're experiencing suicidal thoughts or self-harming behaviours, the energy that are created with these thoughts and actions, they affect you and your family and your home. Please see a mental health professional. See your doctor. Get the help to treat your personal issues because you are going to benefit. You are seriously going to benefit big time from working through your problems and going off into your future with that clean slate, starting afresh, leaving the past behind. And you are going to notice the improvement as well as your family, your home, and your pets. So in episode 99, you are going to hear an exploration of religion and the devil. Is there a connection? And if so, what is it? This is a rather controversial topic, but you know what? I love a bit of controversy. Let's just do it. And also, I have an interesting question from Kim. Now, Kim asked if organised religion was created by the devil. And I had to sit and really think about that, because that has so many possibilities, so many rabbit holes you could go down with that topic. So I thought, right, this is going to be a fascinating topic to unpack. So join me for an eye-opening exploration of the devil and religion. So join me next week for an eye-opening exploration of the devil and religion. So thank you for joining me today. And don't forget, if you want to share a paranormal experience just with myself, or you would like me to share one of your experiences through my podcast, you can do a voice recording, or you can write out your experience and I will read it exactly as you have written. You can email me at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. And for information on paranormal house clearing, you can visit my website, Spiritual Being. You will find the address in the description box. And I look forward to sharing this spooky space again with you next week. And remember, life is perfectly paranormal.